For me, superstar is a guy who has won championships. So to me, Magic Johnson was a superstar when I came into the league. Dr. J was a superstar when I came into the league. When Michael Jordan and I came into the league, we were stars. People wanted to see us play. We sold out buildings, we signed autographs, we had endorsements, commercials, so forth and so on. But the superstar level, you know, the Larry Bird level, the Bob Cousy level, that was always, you know, a level for the champions. And when we look at champions now in the game of the NBA, Tony Parker's a superstar, Tim Duncan's a superstar, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, those are the guys who are superstars. So it's like the superstar line has become very murky. The champion, great player, good team, all that's become murky and muddy. And Stephen A., you and I have had this conversation numerous times where the bar has been lowered. So everybody can kind of fit in the constructed box. And we need to raise the bar up where the champion is given the respect that he or she is due. And since there's no level higher than the superstar, the superstar level to me is reserved for the champion.
Now, Skip, let me explain something to you here about Isaiah Thomas. I don't disagree with anything that he said, although it would appear to based on the arguments that you and I had. But when you and I are debating it, what I would say to you is that there have been plenty of dudes that have been labeled superstars that hadn't won rings. And so when I look at a point guard and I look at what CP3 brings to the table, to me, he qualifies. But when you look at the criteria that Isaiah has, based on where Isaiah has come from, then it resonates with me in a different fashion, and I have no problem with what he's saying, because Isaiah and I have been talking about this for years, not even debating, because I've had to be humbled by his level of expertise on this level. And correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm speaking out of turn, Zeke. One of the things that Isaiah has always had an issue with, Skip, along with many Hall of Famers that have spoken to me both publicly and privately about this, is that guys make incredible sacrifices along the journey in order to capture world championships. And when they do that while being stars, it's actually offensive to them that somebody who has never won a championship is mentioned in the same breath as them because they consider it a different category. So when I'm sitting up here and I'm debating or discussing this with a Hall of Famer who feels that way, that's entirely different than you and I, Skip, going back and forth about it. Because when I'm talking about CP3, I'm simply talking about a standard that so many people have thrown out there towards guys who haven't won championships. Whereas Isaiah and many other Hall of Famers are saying, not only were we stars, but we were champions too. And those who are stars but have never been champions don't belong in the same class as us. I get where a Hall of Famer is coming from on that level. I just don't believe anybody else has a right to come from that perspective.
At the biggest moments of Chris Paul's career, even though he's only a 6-foot-tall point guard, Game 7 against a Spurs team that wasn't nearly as good as this year's Spurs team, back in New Orleans when he had Tyson Chandler, David West, Pasha, Mo Pete, still pretty good team. Nope, at home in New Orleans, didn't get it done. Then against the Spurs that actually got blown out by Oklahoma City 4 times in a row 2 years ago, that Spurs team swept Chris Paul's team. And now this, the other night, that was the pivotal game in this series. And you don't just commit one blunder, you have 3 late blunders in the last 13 seconds that, as you say, cost.
It was a bad loss.
Okay. Again, did I ever see Isaiah Thomas do that? I don't. You say everybody has a night like that. I'm not sure Isaiah ever had a night like that. Just for the record, this is horrendous. This is where you just lose.
Well, my last point, Zeke, is this. All I'm trying to say to Skip is that if you're a 6-foot point guard, what I'm talking about when I look at a point guard, I look at floor generalship. I don't just look at somebody's ability to score and assist and defend, but I also look at their ability to be an extension of the coach on the floor, or the coach on the floor, to run a basketball team, to be an orchestrator. I look at a superstar category like LeBron and KD and guys like that, and Kobe in a different category. But the reason why I keep emphasizing point guard is because of somebody's ability to run a show. And that's what I'm talking about with Chris Paul. Right?
If that's the criteria, then, you know, he's number one. He's the premier under that criteria. But again, for me, the champion has been, the bar has been lowered, and I would like to elevate the bar again, where you have to win to be considered super in this league, as opposed to everyone can be considered super.
Okay.
Okay.
And final point, Stephen A., and you agreed with me on this. Big picture perspective. Chris Paul has become a commercial-making superstar. He's becoming very well known for great commercials, Cliff Paul commercials. They make one after another. They're relentlessly played, and I never get tired of them. But he's becoming overhyped from his commercial fame as opposed to his basketball production. That's just me, and I'm with you. You're cheapening the term superstar if you start to toss it around to Chris Paul. That's just me.
Bottom line, Skip, if I am a team and I'm looking for a floor general, there's nobody in the NBA right now, maybe outside of Tony Parker, that I would want more than Chris Paul.